Somewhere deep inside, you've probably felt it. That quiet whisper, that subtle nudge, that sense that there's more to you than the self you play out every day. We call it the higher self. It's not an abstract idea, not a fantasy, but a deeper intelligence quietly weaving through your life. And while you may not see it directly, you feel it. In the dreams that linger after you awake, in the coincidences that seem too precise to dismiss, in the way your intuition pulls you toward choices you can't logically explain. The higher self doesn't shout, it doesn't force, it communicates through signs, gentle, almost invisible signals that most people overlook. And yet, if you can learn to recognize them, they become a compass, a map guiding you back to alignment, clarity, and truth. In this video, we're going to explore those signs in depth, the subtle ways your higher self is already trying to speak with you, and how to recognize them so you can finally stop ignoring the wisdom that's been waiting for you all along. Part 1. What the higher self really is. To understand the signs of the higher self, we first need to clarify what it actually is, because most people mistake it for something distant, mystical, or outside of them. But the truth is, your higher self isn't somewhere out there. It's not waiting in the sky or in another lifetime. It's the deepest dimension of you, the part untouched by conditioning, fear, or limitation. Think of it this way. Your everyday self is like a character in a play. It's shaped by your upbringing, your environment, your traumas, and your habits. But the higher self is the actor behind that character, the one who remembers the bigger script, who sees more than the scene you're currently stuck in. From a spiritual lens, the higher self is your eternal consciousness. It exists beyond time and space, connected to the infinite field of intelligence that underlies reality itself. From a psychological lens, you could say it's the fully integrated version of you, the part that sees through the noise of emotion and conditioning and responds with wisdom rather than reaction. And if you look at it through a quantum perspective, your higher self is the version of you that already exists in another frequency, in another potential timeline, calling you forward into alignment. And here's the most important thing. The higher self never forces itself on you. It speaks softly, it nudges, it whispers. That's why many people miss it, because they're too distracted by the noise of daily life, by the mental chatter that never seems to quiet down. But if you learn to pause, to pay attention, to listen more closely to the subtle signs, you begin to notice its presence. It's there in the way your body reacts before your mind has time to rationalize. It's in the way certain dreams carry a weight that feels different from the usual clutter of the subconscious. It's in the way the coincidences line up just when you needed them most. And once you realize this, life stops feeling random. You begin to see a pattern, a deeper intelligence weaving through everything. This is why the connection to your higher self is so powerful, because while your conditioned mind is busy replaying the past or fearing the future, your higher self lives only in one place, the present moment, right now. It is always present and always aware and always guiding you, not with demands, but with signs. And the more you learn to recognize those signs, the more you step out of survival mode and into alignment with the life you're actually meant to live. Part 2. The first signs of higher self communication. The first way your higher self often reaches out to you is through dreams. Most people dismiss dreams as random fragments of memory or just the brain replaying daily experiences. But look closer and you'll notice that not all dreams feel the same. Some carry a weight, a clarity, a strange sense of meaning that lingers with you long after you wake up. These are not ordinary dreams, they are messages. In spiritual traditions across cultures, from the shamans of the Amazon to the mystics of the East, Dreams are seen as a bridge between the conscious self and the higher dimensions of awareness. And in psychology, Carl Jung echoed this, calling dreams the royal road to the unconscious, where deeper truths about the self emerge in symbolic form. So when your higher self needs to bypass the filters of logic, it sends you messages in your sleep. Dreams that warn you, encourage you, or remind you of something you've forgotten. You may dream of future events before they even happen. You may dream of situations that mirror the struggles of your waking life. Or you may dream of people who bring you messages that feel strangely real, as if they came from somewhere beyond the imagination. Think of your dreams as a private language between you and your higher self. At night, when the conscious mind finally relaxes, the door opens, and in that space, your higher self has the freedom to communicate. Now, another subtle but powerful sign is what we call mirroring through others. Have you ever been in a conversation and felt like the other person was saying exactly what you needed to hear, almost as if they were voicing your own inner thoughts back to you? Or maybe you've noticed yourself speaking words of advice to a friend, only to realize those were the exact words you needed to hear yourself. This is not coincidence, this is divine synchronicity. The higher self often uses other people as mirrors, reflecting truths you may be overlooking. It doesn't matter if it's a stranger, a loved one, or even something you overhear by accident. The words strike you because they carry resonance. It's not just someone else speaking, it's your higher self using the external world to echo back what your soul already knows. And finally, one of the most universal signs is your intuition. Intuition is that subtle pull, that inner knowing that doesn't come from logic or reasoning, but from a deeper intelligence within you. Neuroscience has shown that your body often registers information milliseconds before your conscious mind does, meaning your intuition is not irrational. It's your subconscious and higher self processing signals faster than your thinking brain can keep up with. Think about those moments where you just knew something was off and later you were proven right. Or those times you felt pulled toward a decision that made no logical sense but ended up being the very thing that shifted your life. That is your higher self guiding you. The more you trust it, the louder it becomes. And the less you trust it, the more you drown it out with overthinking. Dreams, mirrors, and intuition. These are three of the most powerful ways your higher self reaches for you. They are not random, they are invitations to pay closer attention. Part 3. The deeper signs of higher self communication. One of the strongest indicators that your higher self is speaking to you is through emotional intensity. You may notice your emotions becoming stronger, less predictable, even overwhelming at times. A sudden wave of sadness, a burst of joy, a deep sense of longing. These aren't random fluctuations, they are signals. Here's why. Your emotions are the language of energy. They're not just responses to what's happening outside of you, but reflections of what's moving within you. When your higher self wants to get your attention, it amplifies emotion so you'll stop ignoring it. Think of it this way. When your phone buzzes once, you might overlook it. But when it won't stop ringing, you pick it up. That's what your higher self does with emotion. A repeated sadness may be urging you to release an old story. A rising joy may be confirming that you're aligned with your truth. Even what feels like depression at times can be a spiritual initiation, a clearing, a stripping away of what no longer belongs in your field. So instead of fighting these emotions or labeling them as bad, recognize them as messengers. They're guiding you towards alignment. Another profound sign is the separation from certain individuals. As you grow, as your frequency shifts, you may notice that some people you once felt close to suddenly feel distant. Conversations no longer click. Energy feels heavy. Old connections begin to dissolve. At first, this can feel painful. It may even feel like loss, but from a higher perspective, it's recalibration. Your higher self knows which connections nourish your growth and which ones keep you anchored to outdated versions of yourself. And as you step further into your truth, it gently, or sometimes even abruptly, creates distance from those who no longer align. This doesn't always mean conflict. Oftentimes, it's simply a natural drifting apart, like two paths diverging in a forest, not out of hatred, no, but out of evolution. The lesson here is trust, to understand that separation is not punishment, it's preparation. It's making space for new connections, new mentors, new relationships that mirror your expanded state of being. Closely tied to this is the desire for solitude. You may feel less drawn to constant social interaction. You may even worry that you're becoming distant or withdrawn. But in truth, solitude is one of the sacred spaces where the higher self speaks most clearly. Why? Because when you remove the noise of external influence, the opinions, the distractions, the endless stimulation, you create room to hear your own soul for once. It's in solitude that you can reflect, recalibrate, and reconnect with the truth of who you are. Many spiritual traditions emphasize retreat, stillness, silence, not as isolation, but as recalibration. In solitude, you're not cutting yourself off from the world. You're remembering how to meet it as your authentic self, instead of reacting through old patterns. And then, of course, there's meditation. This is not just a spiritual cliche. Meditation is one of the most direct ways to align with your higher self because it quiets the mind, softens the body, and opens the channel for subtle communication. Think of meditation like tuning a radio. Most of the time, the signal of your higher self is being drowned out by static, worries, plans, inner dialogue, doubt, just mental noise. But when you sit in stillness, when you breathe, when you allow thoughts to pass without attachment, you dial into a clearer frequency. And in that quiet, messages arise that you would have missed otherwise. Insights, intuitions, even creative ideas that feel like they come from nowhere. These are the whispers of your higher self, reaching you through the silence you've created. So if you've been feeling waves of emotion, if certain people are leaving your life, if you crave more solitude, or if you've been drawn to meditation, these are not accidents. They are profound signs that your higher self is already in communication with you, calling you deeper into alignment. Part 4. Inspiration, synchronicities, and the call forward. There's another way your higher self communicates with you, and it may be the most beautiful of all. Inspiration. Inspiration is not random. That sudden urge to create, the idea that comes in the shower, the vision that excites you at 2 a.m., these are not accidents of thought, they are transmissions. They are your higher self showing you a glimpse of the future you're capable of living. Notice the difference between an ordinary idea and true inspiration. An ordinary idea may feel logical, useful, or convenient, but inspiration feels electric. It carries a kind of aliveness that pulls you forward, even if it scares you. That's because inspiration is not coming from your current self, it's coming from the version of you that already exists at a higher vibration, a version of you that is already thriving. When you follow inspiration, you're not creating something new in the traditional sense. You're aligning with the timeline that's already real in the quantum field. You're letting your higher self lead you into coherence with that reality. Another sign of higher self communication is the sudden and meaningful appearance of people and synchronicities in your life. These are the moments when the universe seems to arrange itself in your favor. The exact person you needed to meet crosses your path. The right book falls into your hands. The conversation you overhear answers the questions you've been struggling with. From the outside, these events might look like coincidence, But from the perspective of your higher self, they are orchestrations. The field is aligning people, places, and opportunities with your vibration, and the higher your frequency rises, the more often synchronicities appear. They are confirmations that you are on the right path, guideposts from the universe saying, keep going, you're in alignment. Then there are your thoughts. We often think of thoughts as just mental chatter, but some thoughts arrive differently. They feel like intrusions of clarity, ideas that carry weight, nudges that won't leave you alone, sudden realizations that shift how you see everything. These are not just thoughts, they're messages. Here's the subtlety. Your higher self rarely shouts, it whispers, and the whispers arrive as thoughts that feel just a little too wise to have come from your ordinary self. They carry a quality of timelessness, like they were placed in your mind from a higher place. But to recognize these whispers, you need stillness. You need presence. If the mind is too loud, the whispers are drowned out. That's why meditation, solitude, and reflection, the signs we spoke of earlier, are so vital. They create the silence in which the higher self can finally be heard. And as all of this unfolds, the inspiration, the synchronicities, the intuitive thoughts, something remarkable begins to happen. You feel a new enthusiasm for life. Challenges don't disappear, but they feel different. Instead of dragging you down, they seem to sculpt you. Instead of holding you back, they push you forward. This surge of enthusiasm is not artificial, it is the energy of alignment. It's what happens when your higher self sees that you are finally listening, finally willing to follow its guidance. And when that connection deepens, you begin to notice that your life doesn't just change externally, it transforms internally. You feel more creative, more courageous, more open to risk, more willing to step into the unknown. That is the final sign. Not a message in dreams, not a person appearing in your path, not even a surge of emotion. The final sign is you, becoming more of yourself than you've ever been. Because the ultimate goal of higher self-communication is not to give you instructions, it's to remind you of who you already are. So in conclusion, your higher self is not somewhere far away, floating in some unreachable dimension. It has always been with you, speaking through your dreams, reflected in the people you meet, alive in your intuition, stirring in your emotions, guiding you in your solitude, and shining through the sparks of inspiration that move you forward. The challenge has never been that your higher self was silent. No, the challenge is that the noise of the world, the stories of the ego, and the distractions of everyday life can drown it out. But every sign we've explored today is a reminder that your higher self has never stopped calling you. It's not asking you to become someone else. It's asking you to remember who you are. And the more you notice, the more you listen, the more you trust these signals, the more your life begins to reorganize around alignment, clarity, and purpose. So my invitation to you is this: start paying attention. Pay attention to your dreams. Get a dream journal. Pay attention to the synchronicities, to the whispers of intuition that you usually dismiss. Pay attention to the sudden urge to sit in stillness, to the emotions that rise like waves, to the pull towards solitude or meditation, because these are not random. They are conversations with your higher self, the most important guide that you will ever have. And if this message resonated with you, let's keep walking this journey together. Subscribe to this channel not just for more videos, but to stay anchored into this frequency, this remembrance. Leave a comment below and let me know which of these signs you've noticed most in your own life. Because the moment you speak it, that you strengthen the connection. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for choosing to align with the deeper truth of who you are. Your higher self is already waiting, and now you're ready to listen.